Fine.
No,
We're
I
good.
know
We're good.
it says live, and you're
Yeah.
like live, live, like you're like kind of panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot of pressure.
yeah.
Uh, Welcome back to another Board Ventures episode. Today we are talking about how to host the greatest, the most perfect game night of all time. And so today with me I have Dave, Game Foundry. Hey Dave, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
And Ben and M, Date Night Dice. How are you all?
Hello, we're doing good.
Doing fantastic.
Awesome. I'm super happy to hear that. I'm glad that you are here and excited to talk about game nights because it's what we love to do, right? Like that's why we got into the hobby. We enjoy playing games and it's, put Jason aside. Usually it's more fun to play games with more people. he may
Always picking on Jason.
Oh,
may
man.
disagree with that, but
Yeah.
I like there's something special about getting a bunch of people over or going over somewhere and playing games for all day or all night and just the community and the camaraderie that you have with everyone. So I thought it'd be a fun topic to kind of get in and figure out how to make sure that that runs smoothly, how to pick the right games, what do you provide, and just help that maybe if people are wanting to host their first one or improve, maybe we can bring some ideas to the table. So anything y'all wanted to add to the agenda before we dive in?
I don't think so.
No, I mean I agree with you though.
I
Like
know I was like ready to roll, and then I'm like, no, I don't think so. Wait. Sorry.
I love playing board games, right? And I love playing board games with people. Like I just love game night is so awesome. Whether it's game night just the two of us, or like it's something we planned out all week and people are coming over. Or it's a regularly scheduled thing. Like I don't know. I just love it so much. It's just such a good way to spend time with people I like.
It's yes, absolutely.
And I think there's a couple dimensions we can get into. Maybe, one is if you're hosting the game night, and then another is if you are actually a participant in game night, and how do you come and arrive ready to kind of, participate, contribute, go with the flow. How do you gauge who's there and how, how things are going to go down, so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest issues with one of the biggest questions of every single game night is what game are we playing? Right? Like, do you decide that beforehand? Do you decide that when you get there? What are some of the methods that you all have employed to get that game that you want to the table? Rather, be blunt about it or kind of sneak it in.
Do you want to go on?
I would say that in almost all cases we decide on the game before game night. I think if people are there and then you're like, all right, let's go pick. I don't know. That's a disaster.
That's like asking people, when you're with your family and you're like, what do you guys want to eat? Like for a restaurant, and you're like, somebody just pick something.
Right.
I feel like we usually have 3 games that we think would be good for, depending on the person coming over or people or whatever. We have like the 3 games, and then kind of once people are there and you're hanging out, you kind of get the feel to be like, you know what, I think everybody's up for this one or this one. But we kind of narrow it down to a couple.
Yeah. And it's, I used to be able to remember the rules for games, and now I've played too many games, and I don't remember the rules for any games at all, even the ones I used to remember.
Yep.
So if I'm going to be the teacher, I need to know, like, at least the day ahead to read the rule book, because you never want to be teaching out of the rule book, right? And so you kind of want to be somewhat prepared.
That's true.
Put me to sleep real quick if you start reading a rule book to me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that.
If the rules explanation takes longer than the game, you pretty much failed. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the Dave law.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes for us. Is it the same for you guys, though? Is it you pick ahead of time most of the time?
So for me, I usually will come with 1 or 2 in mind. I don't always say this is the game. There'd be a rare case where like something's new, it's come, I've learned it, and like I'm ready to go. But generally, I'll pick like, maybe a handful, 3, maybe 4 games, often in a kind of a similar vein, and just kind of see what the mood is and how many people. You're not always sure if everyone's going to show up. or if someone's going to bring a friend. So it's good to
That's
be
true.
prepped for different player counts, because you might be all set to play that perfect 4-player game that you just
That's very
got,
true.
and
Yeah.
then somebody has a +1, and like you're like, oh, hey,
Oh,
here's a
no.
solo game you can go play in the room.
Yeah.
You can watch.
That is very true, though. That is good to be like, if someone all of a sudden, or another friend is like, oh, I can make it, or something that you didn't expect.
Right.
If you have those couple of games that work with 3, 4, and 5, or whatever the number is, then you're not doing, like you said, Ben, and being like, hold on, I got to read the rule book quick, and you're like panicking to do that.
Right.
Right.
Well, I guess if like your original question, if you're let's say inexperienced about hosting a game night or going to host a game night, then maybe it's not, hey, do you guys want to come over for game night? It's, hey, do you guys want to come over and play Galaxy Trucker? Right? So everybody
Right.
knows, oh, we're coming over to play this.
And I think that can vary. You know your friends, right? So you can kind of make the determination on the best way to get them in the door, right? It's, are they going to be intimidated by, do you want to come to game night? Like some people will be intimidated because like, I don't know what that means. Like you play really heavy games. Like I don't know if I want to be a part of that. Whereas if you can describe a specific game like Galaxy Trucker, and that can be a lot more approachable for a lot of people. And so I do that. I'm on the same boat, as I kind of have a game in mind, or I've talked beforehand, and I've done a little bit of both. Usually the most common way that I will do it is that I want to play Twilight Imperium, which that's a year-long planning event, so let's not like use that as the gold standard here. But I want to play Power Grid, right? It's a big game. You need 3 to 5 players. I will say I want to play Power Grid. This is kind of, I will know the rules and who wants to gauge interest and then gather people for Power Grid. I think that is probably the most effective way if you have a game that you want to play. Or like what we just started is every third Sunday we will be playing games here. You can show up and you're more than welcome to sit at the table and play with us. No idea what that will bring. And we usually don't know until like Sunday, an hour before, who's showing up. And so that kind of flexes into what Dave was saying. And it's like, okay, you have to kind of, be quick on your feet. And so what can you flex into? Or maybe you break out a second table, or trying to figure out what that is. So
yeah.
Well, now you've got me really curious about what everybody's game nights are like. What kinds of game nights do you guys have? What is game night to you?
So in the before times or more recently?
I guess recently. I
wanted to hear before times.
Well, I don't know, but that's true.
I used to go to a lot more public meetups. Like at the local shop, or the regional kind of gamers collaborative that would host a weekly or monthly game meetup. Maybe it was an all-day type of game meetup, and there'd be multiple tables. There'd be just stacks and stacks of games that people would bring, and to those I would bring kind of a pretty wide selection, but definitely would throw in some stuff like, I really want to play this kind of thing, and see who I could kind of finagle into it. More recently, I did a lot of solo gaming for a couple of years there, a lot of online gaming. I'm sure we all did, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've started to have like a friend or two over here and there. I'm doing like a once a month kind of get together with some good friends where I actually drive 2 hours, spend the night. We'll hang out for like a day and play some games. We do that once a month, every other month or something.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
We'll bring
That's fun.
pretty good stack for that, but I'll always have a couple in mind, but always also thinking about who's going to be there and what they are going to be into, what they might like. And also, say hypothetically one of them was really prone to analysis paralysis. What games won't I bring?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
That makes sense.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think now that we're able to do a little bit more of this game night stuff than we have over the last 2 years. That's a little bit more of what I'm leaning into, is what you were just talking about, Dave, where like we just had our first one on last Sunday. And so we had people over. We had 2 new players who really hadn't played any games, and we broke out Wingspan, and it took us 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we had fun. Like, but it was, I mean, like, it was an introductory game for some new players, which is exciting because, you know, they had a lot of fun. We played the crew after that. And it's like, oh, okay. Like they started seeing what games could be. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. That's when you're kind of like, okay, now this game is totally different.
Yeah.
And then you kind of try and you're like, let me show you some types so that you kind of know. That's fun.
We have had that exact same game night.
Yeah, we actually Wingspan and the crew.
And then the crew.
You're like,
it's
like
a good,
this. Yeah.
good game night. Yeah, it's a good game night.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Well, and that brings up a good point, is you always want to have a variety of games on hand that are different lengths. So yeah, depending on how long your kind of main course goes,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you have some dessert games, some filler games, you know, things that allow you to kind of say, okay, well, maybe we have an hour and a half before so-and-so needs to bail. What can we fit in comfortably in an hour and a half without it being rushed? That's still going to be a good media experience.
So I guess like what is your go-to dessert game?
Oh my gosh. Ben, do you know?
What?
What would you pick for this? We mean what?
Ben
go
is
to
zoned out. He is not here anymore.
I wanted to hear what you said first before I said anything.
Oh, the crew.
Yeah.
The crew is the dessert game always.
Is it dessert game? What about Skull King?
Oh, well, that's your choice.
Okay. I thought you were going to pick that. That's why I didn't want to say that.
Oh, no. I didn't realize that you were like asking me so directly. Yeah, I lately it's the crew, because typically
the crew's great
it's
too.
cooperative. So it's very easy to sort of like, if you had people over, to be like, all right, we're all going to work together. I know we're tired. We'll see how many rounds we play. And then you always play way more than you think you're going to, because you get really
That's
into
true.
that game.
You're like, just one more, guys. Like, we just, come on. Yeah.
But with people we're more familiar with, or want to, like, let's say, goof around with a little bit more, then Skull King is at least one round of Skull King.
That's our end of night. Like, maybe I can get one more win in, or like a win in, because I did horrible at the longer game or something. Yeah.
I think for me, that kind of dessert kind of palate cleanser at the end of the night is Draposaurus. We end up playing a ton of that. You just play super snappy rounds of it, maybe get a few in just a matter of 5-10 minutes each.
Oh, nice.
I've never played that game.
Me either.
But I like how quick it is, because then it is where someone's like, okay, one more and then I have to go. Or, okay, we can do a couple more and then you can do that. Like, people start dwindling off as you keep playing.
And then you never go. You just keep going.
Yeah, and then I'm still there. That's what it is.
But I'm so used to playing it online on Board Game Arena, and it goes so quick. I mean, it's just like boom, boom, done, boom, boom, done. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And that is a common thread between, it sounds like, Draposaurus and the crew. It's, they're very frequent stopping points, which makes it easy for people to leave. Well, it gives people the option to leave. I don't think it makes it easy for them to leave.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's a good point. That I hadn't thought about that before, but stopping points make a good dessert game, right? That's a you wouldn't play Sagrada or something like that, even though it's kind of shorter, and you could call it a filler game, but it just doesn't have that sort of. You wouldn't want to start another one.
Yeah, you have to invest.
That's your appetizer. Sagrada's your appetizer.
Yeah, we should have had like the courses to game night.
Oh, well, there we go. Future Board Vengers video.
Yeah, there you go.
Full course meal.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you host game night, what are some of the things that you are looking to provide for the experience outside of games? Like, I think games are kind of essential. I typically will end up playing games that someone brings anyways, but I think it is also kind of expected, if you're hosting a game night, you at least have to have a game. So like, outside of that, what are some of the things that you all like to include or like to have for people when they get to game night?
Emily.
Okay, I was
You're
like, who
the
is going
hosting
to?
queen.
I
Here.
am the person. I definitely have like at least 2 snacks.
Okay.
And we always have some sort of drink. Now, obviously, we're not going to get like everybody's favorite drink, but we have some sort of like pop or juice, some kind of beer, some kind of wine, so that like someone can have something at least.
Yeah.
But I always like, I mean, at least one snack, but I like 2 different snacks in case someone doesn't like something. But also, the snacks can't be super messy. Or if you have one messy one that you eat before the games,
Or in
then-
between.
or in between. But then the one, if you like expect people to eat during the game, it can't be like, here's buffalo wings. You know, like you're not gonna like
Here's your Red
hand
Hot
those out.
Cheetos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, like cheese and crackers. It's like I can grab that without destroying a game or
Right.
something. You know, or like if you put dip out. Okay, if you have dip or salsa, you have multiple little bowls around. You do not have one bowl so that people do the drip over the game.
Oh, the chip of
The
salsa
chip
over the board game. That's a no-no. Like I'm
Yeah.
pretty loose with what's allowed at the table.
Exactly.
But a chip full of salsa over
Like,
the board is
Not a
no-
lot stresses
no
me
go.
out, but that does.
But so that's when it's like, if you're gonna have that, just have a couple of bowls so that it's, you know, next to people and it's easy and it's not this like, oh well, we have the dip but it's over there, so have fun reaching across my really expensive board game and dripping it all along.
Yeah.
But
So one of the things that I have invested in, which isn't necessarily just for game night, is like I got a set of TV trays, and they go
Okay,
next to
yeah.
the table.
exactly.
And no food or drink is on the table. That's a rule.
Yes, that's
We've
nice.
Had way too many close calls. They go on. We got 4, so they go at the corners. Everyone's got the spot for their drink and
Okay.
food.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
And we usually end up pulling chairs up or like some kind
Yeah.
of stools, and you're like, okay, here you go. Like we're gonna put stools next to everyone, and
Maybe we need something official.
yeah, yeah, a little classier than the stools.
Yeah, for me, planning the game night, it's always going to be a function of, okay, when are we going to start it? And there's like this window of, if you start it too early, you pretty much have to plan for dinner for anyone that comes. If you start that, you can push it a little bit later and like, okay, just go ahead and eat something before you get here. So there's a little bit of planning there in terms of, hey, when do people show up? And you know, if you're going to do dinner, you want something pretty easy and simple, but again, not too messy.
Yeah.
Take out.
Yep, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
And yeah, something easy, something that you don't have to prep, because you don't want to be away from the table, right?
Yep.
You're the host. You're probably playing a game. You don't want to have to leave for 30 minutes to cook. And I think it is important to communicate to people who are coming over if there will be a meal, because I have been to game nights where it starts at 4 and it's going until 9. I just assumed dinner was included and it was not, and I left very hungry. Right?
Oh,
Like
no.
Oh no.
Or
Yeah.
that at least there would be a break planned where you could kind of like order
Yeah.
something, you know,
Yeah,
have it
order pizza
delivered,
or
but
something.
Right,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
get into like
Yeah.
a 5-hour game of, you know, Scythe or something. You know, like
Exactly.
nobody wants to take a break to,
Yeah.
yeah.
People
Mhm.
start setting up like Blood Rage, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh. Let me see if I can order from my app under the table real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I know. So, one of my friends, he had a pretty big regular board game night that he hosted, and it started at 5:30 on Tuesdays. And what it would do is they would have a rotating dinner host. So,
Oh, that's cool.
typically game night was hosted at 1 or 2 different families' houses, but they weren't necessarily the dinner provider. So there was a list, some spreadsheet somewhere that rotated through the group of who would do dinner. So they would do dinner, and then everybody would be like, all right, and they'd split off into 2 or 3 groups to go play games. That group has sort of disbanded a bit. But from within those guys, we have our regular D&D night on Mondays. And we start a little bit later, so we start at 7. No dinner. But we do have a rotating snack. We actually figured out an anagram, so I don't forget.
Oh my gosh. This is like,
Yeah, every Sunday,
fun.
prepare
can you say
for
it?
games at Quinn's. And
And that's everybody's
that's
letters?
everybody's the first letter
Are
of
you
everybody's
in
name.
there?
Yeah, begin preparing.
Okay, I was like, I feel like there's no
Every
B.
Sunday, begin preparing for games at Quinn's. That's everybody.
Okay, that's everyone.
Now I can remember it was just my snack night. We did nachos. I brought nacho stuff.
Nice.
The problem with that a little bit is it sometimes can turn into a bit of an arms race. The snacks can get turn a little bit too much into dinners, and then you have to reset the status quo and bring just chips and be like, no.
I got Doritos
That's-
today.
Yeah. That's
Not
just because
Doritos. Never Doritos. Come on.
That's true. Yeah,
That's true.
that's true.
But that's just because your friends like go all out. So then when it's your turn, it's like, well,
Sorry,
geez, do we
it's
have
some-
to
it's
like
some
make
Ruffles.
homemade ice cream mixed with a some sort like I don't know,
Right.
something insane where they're like, I just had a couple of spare hours to make some homemade pies and ice cream, and you're like, well, we brought chips, so I don't know what to tell you guys. Like,
And the
hope
pies
you're
are all
hungry.
like done up with different wingspan birds or something.
That's
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
They-
exactly what it's like, though.
Yeah.
A little
It
bit.
is. It is
It's
like
good
that.
We have fun on Mondays. What can I say? And then if
board out of food. Yeah.
if anybody's missing, then we don't play D&D. We'll play board games, and then we have a group chat. So we spend the whole rest of the week trying to figure out what the heck we're going to play, and to finally decide at the last minute.
That's true.
Okay, so what about going to a game night that's hosted by somebody else? What are some of the things that you look to bring or think about before you leave the house and get there?
Do you typically I'll bring like some drinks, like you would to a dinner party or something. Like I don't know, like a 6-pack of something, right? Or something that I like or think other people will like. Maybe you can ask ahead of time, like for snacks or whatever. But that first time, yeah, I don't know. That's a big step, right? It's always like, I don't know what to bring. I don't know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'll often try to get a little intel, like who do they expect? How many do they expect? How experienced
Yeah.
are they? And then I'll bring a few games based on what information I get. If I know that they're going to be supplying dinner, particularly if they're buying it, I'll offer to kick in, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Beer. I'll bring a 6-pack. That's kind of a given.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, get insider information. You can always just ask, right? Like if I'm hosting something, I want people to just ask me, like, what do you expect? And I'll just tell you. And it's the same thing if I'm going to go somewhere. I most of the time people are pretty comfortable with you just being like, hey, so what's the expectation? Do I need to know the games ahead of time? Like, do I need to read the rules, or is somebody going to teach? Do I need to bring something? You can just ask those questions.
Or is there a rules video that I should go look at, right?
I do think that's really helpful. Now that there's so many YouTube rule explanations, where if it is like, hey, we're playing Wingspan, no one's played Wingspan, go check out this YouTube page. Just so even if you don't learn everything, you have like the general idea down. I feel like that bumps everyone up like 30 minutes of rules, and it's just so much smoother then.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Especially if you know what you are playing. If you're bringing games, that gets a little bit harder.
Yeah.
There are, like, I've been to game nights where everyone kind of brings their stack of games. Whenever I bring games, I don't expect to play them, right? Because it usually doesn't happen. You can probably get one game in, and everyone's bringing 5. That means that there's 30 to choose from, right? So
Right.
pretty low chance.
Sometimes you bring that stack just to plant the seed for future.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to
Or
be
to
like,
just show
look what
off.
I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Exactly.
I know we're playing Joe's game tonight, but
Mm-hmm.
check this out. Maybe
Yeah.
another time, huh?
Yeah, just bring your newest Kickstarter. It's like, I don't even know how to play this. I just wanted to set it on the table and, show it off
Yeah.
a little bit.
You're so right. This happens all the time. I always get to Quinn's house, and there's like some big game on the corner of right where you would walk when you walk in the door, on the kitchen counter on the corner. Just it's just sitting there for next time.
Does he just? Yeah, he just pretends. Oh,
Well, or somebody brought it and put it there.
and just put it there
I
to
did
show.
that. I do that at
Okay.
QuinnCon. Hey guys,
Look what I
look
got.
at this.
Yeah. I would, if you are bringing games and there is a chance that you will play it, know the rules. I think we said that earlier as like the host, but also if you're going to bring games and it's kind of this, throw them all on the table and we're going to pick one. If they pick yours,
Yes.
you're the one that needs to step up and teach that game. So,
Mhm.
so be ready. Be ready.
Yeah, definitely. If someone were like, "Okay, let me read the rules," I'd be like, "Never mind, new
Yeah.
choose."
Nope.
Like
we're gonna
right
go
away.
play the
Yeah,
crew.
I'd be like, "Pass." Yeah, exactly. Somebody grab the crew.
I mean,
That would
well-
be
I
my
mean, if it's like
answer.
a variation on Love Letter or something, I'm okay with that, But if it's
Yes, but
like anything above that in terms of complexity,
yes. Yeah, I'm like, "You're out. Sorry,
yeah.
you did not pass the test." Like,
Yeah.
That's a good point. And plus, if it's not clear who's going to teach it, but you guys have picked a game or a couple of games, just spend the time to learn them. The worst case is you didn't have to teach them, and you still heard the rules twice. That's even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But if everybody showed up and we're like, "Oh, I thought you were going to teach," well, good thing I read the rules, so now I can teach.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. So any other tips or tricks or fun things that you like to do for game night?
Well, I know Emily's answer to this question, and I want to ask both of you. Maybe
Okay.
Nelson, you
Okay.
go first. Do you guys have music playing during gameplay or not? Music
Absolutely.
or no?
Yes. Yeah.
And what about you, Dave?
I do not. No, not typically.
So you just sit there in silence?
Yes, am I putting
Well, no, our banter is what fills the night
Okay.
air with mirth and merriment.
On my Monday group, we don't have music, but typically anytime we host, there's music.
If there's no music, all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? I don't know, something about it. I'm like, even if it's like just barely in the background, I need something. I don't know. I need music. But if it's just the two of us, then it's like an actual theme music.
Then we always go to YouTube Music and search some
jungle cruise.
ambient
Nice.
music,
Yeah.
playlist
all
for
out.
Arnak. Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I will.
Italian restaurant music for viticulture. You have to do that.
That's
I
It's
will
so
say
good.
we have done that on occasion. So like
Okay.
when we play The Godfather, we put the theme in the background.
Yeah.
So some of
Yeah.
those we have, yeah. Mhm.
All right,
That's
that's
great.
fun.
One of the things that we have started to do, and it works also on virtual game nights, which is something that we haven't talked about and I don't want to talk about necessarily in this format, but is Spotify has a function that I don't quite remember what it's called. I think it's like group session, where you can invite people to the group and they can queue up songs and then it will queue and play on everyone's devices. So in a virtual setting, this works really well because everyone can be listening to the same song. But if you're sitting at game night, whoever's connected to the speaker can have it be played and everyone else just turns their volume down. But then you can queue up songs and it's not like, hey, can you play this song? You just throw it on the queue and then
Yeah, that's nice.
the vibe changes very rapidly if that happens. You'll go from rap to hardcore to punk to real quick, but it does make it so that everyone kind of gets a little bit of a say in what music is playing if you are someone who wants to listen to music during the play.
Yeah, I guess I'd say for me, the most important thing to bring to game night is just a positive attitude and the willingness to be flexible. Even if you had your heart set on playing that game, that one game that you read and you
Yep.
prepped it and it went a different way, great, happy, healthy, glad to be here.
You're still getting to play games.
You're still getting to play
Yeah.
games. You're still with people that you like. Even if there's some the cards just aren't going your way and it's just the most miserable. You're just getting wiped the floor with, and you're just not not having a great game, but you're still having a great time with friends, and keeping that in mind throughout is so important.
Okay. You could not be playing games.
That's
It's
true.
always-
I need
true.
this reminder. I really wanted to play that game I brought, though, guys. Like, come on, why are we playing this?
No, I guess the one other thing I think of is if we have new people come to some sort of game night or people who haven't played a lot of games, is a lot of times we'll pick some sort of cooperative game, whether it's
That's a
The
good
Crew
call.
or Chronicles of Crime or like something we can all do together so that they can kind of be like, oh, this is not just the usual game, but they're doing it together in a way that it's not like, hey, the spotlight's on you, your turn. Did you remember all the rules? And you're like sitting there looking at them.
Mm.
So sometimes we'll start off with that and then switch to like, Wingspan or something still simple and fun, but kind of start with that to see like how they take it.
Well, exactly. It's like I kind of mentioned a while ago. Like you don't know if somebody's going to be insecure about that, and
Yeah.
like us who've played lots of games in a 4-player game, 3 people are going to lose, right? So I'm used to losing. It happens all the time. But somebody who's like maybe a little bit nervous or whatever, handing them the opportunity for a cooperative game, even if it's just the first time. Maybe next time we'll play a competitive game. But
Yeah.
that first time when you're like, I don't want to freak somebody out. Let's play Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah, something that's like you don't even have to do anything if you don't want to for the first half an hour. You can just kind of like participate when you want to, or whatever the scenario. But I feel like that's really nice to just kind of see where they're at, and then like we did that with a couple, and then right away they were like, let's do this again, let's play a different game next time, and we had a couple more game nights and whatnot. So I just think that's a good feel sometimes if you don't know what kind of game at all do they like. So that's helpful.
Even one versus many games where you can be on a team, or games
Yes.
have teams, code names,
Yes.
mind
That's a good
management, Not Alone. Those are all great
Mysterium.
games. Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent recommendations.
Yeah, those are all good.
Yeah, that all great points. I really like the team aspect, and it's really nice because they will probably have questions on rules, and in a competitive game that can get kind of weird, where like how much of the rules / strategy am I telling? And with a cooperative game, you're all there to win or lose together, and so all great recommendations, and it's a very welcoming feeling for a new player.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we have bring food. Not messy food.
Not messy food. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Have games. If you have something that you are going to play, understand and know the rules, and also, sorry, real quick. Make sure you know how to teach it. That is different than knowing the rules.
That's true.
I sat through one of the most interesting rules explanations of all time the other day, and
Interesting
Well-
rules explanations.
we'll leave it at that.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, know how to teach it, know how to explain it. Cooperative games are great for new players if you're inviting them into kind of the hobby, right? It's a step into the hobby. So make sure that they have a good first impression there, and then have a kind of that dessert game that you can easily kind of end or fill out the night, because either you're going to go way past whenever everyone wants to leave, or you're going to end before everyone wants to leave. Very rarely are you ever going to end at 9 and everyone's leaving at 9, right? Like,
Yeah.
so have that game, whether that be the crew, whether that be wavelength is a good one, right? Just something that you can just
Yeah.
sit there and
Something
just play
fun.
quick.
Yeah. Fun quick.
Yeah. That we should do like a Board Ventures like dessert game. Like, what's your dessert game? What game do you end? And 6 of us are gonna have the crew, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, right. A couple of us will have to think outside the box there. Yeah.
Did I miss anything on the recap?
I don't think so.
You got it.
I feel like that was good.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for joining so much. It was awesome, exciting to hear how everyone kind of runs their game nights or participates in game nights. Let us know in the comments how you like to, if there's something fun that you do in game nights, how you like to run your game nights. Do you impose your will and force people to play the game that you want to play? Are you that person at game night? Let us know. Also, like and subscribe to the video. It really helps out the channel. And thank you all so very much, and we'll see you next week.